Today is Tuesday, April 6, 2021. This is the Senate Transportation, Finance, and Policy Committee. And we have one bill on today, and that will be the Transportation Omnibus Bill, Senate File 1159. And before I pass the gavel to Senator Jasinski, I just wanted to give you kind of a heads up as to what the overall plan is for the week. For purposes of today, we are going to do a walkthrough. Then we will have the commissioners and Chair Zelle, Colonel Langer will each have an opportunity to talk about the bill. And in your packet, you have an A5 amendment. That is the bill as currently drafted. You've also got an A6 and an A7. And by the time we get to Thursday, when we are going to have membership input and taking amendments, we will have all of those amendments rolled into one, which will be the A8 amendment. And that is the bill then that we will proceed with. But for purposes of today, we're just going to be talking about the A5, the A6, and the A7 amendment. And I think that for purposes of today, we'll just do the walkthrough. And then again on Thursday, it would be my intention to discuss the bill and then vote it out. And I believe it goes to taxes, if I'm not mistaken, next. So with that, I will pass the gavel to Senator Jasinski, and we can proceed with the bill for today. Senator Jasinski, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Newman. I have the gavel. With that, the first thing we'll do, as you said, we'll go to Senate File 1159. Senator Newman, to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comments on the overall bill are going to be very brief. I just want to give you kind of a general overview of the major themes within the bill, and they would be as follows. There's basically three of them in my mind. First of all, transparency by the agencies, the Met Council and the State Patrol, both from a policy standpoint and from the standpoint of the money that is spent through those various organizations. I think it's very important that transparency is important for the legislators. It's also very important for our taxpayers. So you will see within the bill issues addressing the question of transparency. Next, you're going to find in the bill an enormous need in a variety of areas. First of all, public safety. We need a lot in terms of infrastructure for our ports, for rail, airports, roads, bridges, and finally transit. So there's an enormous need out there, and that you will find throughout the course of the bill. And then finally, you will find within the bill a number of areas where I believe we are spending trunk highway funds and spending them in either an unnecessary or an impermissible manner, keeping in mind the whole purpose of the constitutional amendment was to spend money for highway purposes. And I just feel that over the years, we have gotten away from that mission. We are spending money that while we can make a cogent argument, I suppose, that trunk highway purpose or a highway purpose may be arguably a proper spending, but often in my mind, it is not. And you will see a laundry list in the bill that addresses that issue. Members of the committee and the public, with that, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you invite Ms. Stengel and Ms. Boyd to walk us through the policy provisions and the finance provisions of the bill.
Thank you, Senator Newman. And who prefers to go first?
I believe I'll go first, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Boyd, go ahead and introduce yourself and proceed.
Okay, Krista Boyd, Fiscal Analyst for the Senate Transportation Committee. I'm pretty much going to limit my walkthrough to the spreadsheet, but there's one tiny section in Article 1 that's not picked up in the spreadsheet that I will point out at the end. So we're working off the spreadsheet labeled Transportation Fiscal Year 22-23 Budget, Governor/Senate, and it's dated April 4th, 2021. I'm going to concentrate on the change items. I'm going to preface this by saying there's a number of places in the bill where a base appropriation from the Trunk Highway Fund or the Highway User Tax Fund is replaced partially or wholly by a general fund appropriation. So I'm not going to dwell on each one, but I will certainly point them out. So starting with the change items on line 14 of the spreadsheet, this is in Department of Transportation under multimodal systems. This is in aeronautics, and this is a governor's rec picked up on the Senate side that is costs from the State Airports Fund for regulation of new drone enforcement policies later in the MnDOT policy article. And then on lines 15 and 16 is the first of these base funding shifts from Trunk Highway to General Fund, 1.65 million in each year in aeronautics from Trunk Highway to General Fund. And then the next change item will be something similar to that under transit on lines 31 and 32, a shift of $932,000 a year from Trunk Highway to General Fund. On line 45, there's a reduction in the Office of Passenger Rail. This is a little misleading. On the governor's side, what the governor's budget is doing is merging the Office of Passenger Rail into the appropriations for freight and rail safety. So it looks like a reduction, but it's really picked up down below in freight and rail safety. On the Senate side, it is a reduction to operations, the complete base reduction of $500,000 a year. That's not picked up down below in freight and rail safety. There's also a reduction in fiscal year 21, a cancellation of $271,000 of existing appropriations for that budget activity. The next change item is on line 54. This is a one-time appropriation of $1 million from the general fund and freight and rail safety. This is for procurement of a statewide freight optimization tool for the department. Then we move on to state roads. There's again a shift on line 78 through 79. This is funding that goes for reimbursement of fire services for fire management and rights of way of trunk highways. This is currently paid out of trunk highway money, and instead the language makes an open general fund appropriation for these costs every year, which is estimated to be about $5,000. Next change items are lines 102, start there. This is under program delivery and state roads. Again, this is replacing trunk highway funding with general fund funding. This is a reduction from the trunk highway fund of $8.07 million a year, and then replacing it with a $453,000 general fund appropriation. So that is just a partial replacement. And then on lines 104 and 105, this is again a shift from a trunk highway spending item to an open general fund appropriation for costs of copying of documents. This is documents gotten from town clerks, county administrators, things like that. And currently those are paid out of trunk highway. Next change item is on line 116. This is an increase to the state road construction program, $15 million in fiscal year 23, and then two amounts in the tails, $30 million in 24 and $80 million in 25. And then on line 123, a similar appropriation increase to the Corridors of Commerce program, 132.5 in 22, 152.5 in 23, and then some slightly smaller amounts in the tails, again from trunk highway. On lines 134 and 135, this is another replacement of trunk highway-based spending with general fund to statewide radio communications. So the overall appropriation stays the same, but the source is different there. On lines 149 and 156, these are appropriation increases for state aid appropriations, counties and municipals. These are related to overall changes in the bill for the HETDF, increased revenues and things like that. So collectively, those will mean more appropriations down to the state aid funds, and those appropriations are picked up here. Lines 163 and 164 are one-time appropriations for local bridge improvement program and local road improvement program. And those are from the general fund, 30 million in each year for roads or for bridges, and 11.36 each year for local roads from the general fund. MnDOT agency management, we have an operating adjustment on line 177. That's a reduction to the base from trunk highway for 1.575 ongoing per year. And then on lines 180 and 181, there was another replacement of trunk highway funding with general fund. You'll see a reduction of 10.192 million per year from trunk highway, partially replaced with 8.7 million from the general fund. And under buildings, again, there's two operating adjustments because from general fund and trunk highway fund base on lines 190 and 191. And then there's another shift of fund source on lines 193 and 194. The cost of rent, utility, or I'm not sure if it's rent, but the cost of the central office building in St. Paul for MnDOT of 6.37 million a year from trunk highway would be shifted to an open general fund appropriation for approximately that amount from the general fund. Then we're done with MnDOT. Met Council changes start on 2/17. And this is a general fund reduction in fiscal years 22 through 24, 32.649 million a year to that appropriation for transit systems. And then an appropriation reduction on line 224 for Metro Mobility from the general fund of 56.4 in 22 and 55.97 in 23. And that continues into 24. There's no base reduction in 25 for any of these areas. Then moving on to Department of Public Safety, everything in administration and related services is now going to be general fund-based appropriation. So most of the changes in this area will be those fund replacements. So I'll just point them out quickly. Office of Communications, there's a full replacement of trunk highway with general fund funding there on lines 236 and 237. Again, on 247, 248, replacement from trunk highway to general fund for public safety support. And an additional operating adjustment reduction, 98,000 and 172,000 in 22 and 23 in that area, plus a governor's rec of a reduction of fiscal year 21 for 220,000 for general fund. Under, I'm sorry, my spreadsheet just moved. There we go. Under soft body armor reimbursement, again, the appropriation stays whole. It's just going to be completely from the general fund and not trunk highway. Those are on lines 263 and 264. And then the same for technology and support services on lines 274 through 276, but these are cuts to trunk highway funding and HUT funding in the base. So now the entire appropriation will be whole from the general fund. Moving on to state patrol, those changes start on line 295. I believe all the changes picked up in state patrol were governor's recs. On line 295, that's a carried forward of money that was unable to be used from prior appropriation for a state trooper academy. So that money moves into a new appropriation in fiscal year 22, 1.7 million from trunk highway. And then in all areas, patrolling highways, commercial vehicle enforcement, capital security, and vehicle crimes unit, there are appropriations for new body worn cameras. Those are from the trunk highway fund on line 297 for patrolling highways. Trunk highway for commercial vehicle enforcement on line 312, general fund on line 322 for capital security, and the highway user tax distribution fund on line 332 for vehicle crimes unit. And then driver and vehicle services, we have a number of changes. This is probably our most busy area. Starting on line 346, this is a governor's rec to restructure the license plate fees and the source of revenue for license plate production and manufacture. So currently these come out of the highway user tax distribution fund, 8.2 million a year. This proposal would fund those out of the special revenue fund, vehicle services, and back those appropriations up with new plate fee increases. And you'll see those later in the policy amendments. The only difference between the GovRec and the Senate side is that the governor's rec starts the plate fee increases in fiscal year 22, and the Senate, you'll see later, starts them in fiscal year 23. So the appropriation in 22 will come off the existing fund balance for vehicle services. On line 348, there's an appropriation for temporary staffing related to driver's license issuance, basically for real IDs. This is one-time funding that was made in fiscal year 20, was unable to be used and canceled in fiscal year 21 under current law. So this appropriation is being requested again. The original appropriation was 2.4 million and 10,000 of it was used. So this is the appropriation now, 2.39. And then there are additional vehicle inspection sites. This is related to the salvage title bill. Increasing the pool of cars that will be applying for salvage titles will mean increased inspections. So there's, I believe, 2 additional sites being open, and this is the cost of establishment and staffing those on line 349. These are all from vehicle services operating account in the special revenue fund. Then there are a number of programming costs to the FASTDS program related to different policy provisions. Line 350 is for self-service registration tab fee kiosks. And line 351 is expanding lifetime issuance of veterans plates to the 3 veterans plates that don't currently have that option. Line 352 is a new temporary permit system for out-of-state carriers, and that'll be programming to allow those. Line 353 is related to changes recommended by the Office of Legislative Auditor for internal controls for management of bulk data in the department. So this creates a new subscription program for motor vehicle bulk data similar to driver's bulk data that exists that would require some programming. And then you'll see the complete reduction of the HUTDF appropriation for license plate fees. In driver services, starting on line 368, this is cost of a new pilot project to allow same-day driver's license issuance. Again, I believe this is in 2 sites, the pilot project. In the first year, the increased appropriation is for card readers and maintenance, and then the amounts ongoing in 23 in the tails is for maintenance of these systems. On line 369, these are administrative costs related to a new third-party testing system for commercial driver's license examinations, and that is staffing in the department to support that program. Line 370 is an online driver's education administration appropriation that is, I believe, a half FTE, I believe. I may be mistaken about that, to support online driver's education program. Line 371 is a program required to allow for a new $20 no-show fee for driver's exams for people who make the appointment and don't show up. And then under traffic safety, starting on line 385, there's an operating adjustment from the general fund, a reduction of 10,000 and 16,000 in 22 and 23. Line 386 and 387 are related to a grant program that you'll see later in the policy provisions to allow for grants to school districts and school bus companies to allow for grants for these stop arm cameras on the school buses. And that is on 386, 17.5 million a year from the general fund, one time in 22 and 23. And then the next line is an FTE in 22 and 23 to support the grant administration for that. Starting on lines 401, this is in MnDOT. These are separate sections at the end of Article 1 that are all individual projects. There's, I believe, 29 projects through the Department of Transportation. Some of them are for the department, some are grants to other political subdivisions. About half of them are one-time cash from the Trunk Highway Fund and half are one-time cash from the general fund. I don't believe I'm going to go over these individually, but if there are questions later. Lines 448 and 449 are appropriations to the Department of Employment and Economic Development, one-time appropriations in our bill. 448 is just staff support costs for support on that freight optimization tool that MnDOT will be acquiring. And then 449 is appropriations for the existing air grant, airport infrastructure grant program of $2 million and $1 million from the general fund. And then I'll just quickly run through the revenues. Line 468, these are all in MnDOT. These are estimated increased revenues from drone enforcement and regulation from their fee changes. Line 472 is anticipated federal revenue of $122 million, I believe, from FHWA, Federal Highway Administration, related to the CRISA Act, the federal funds from December of 2020. The next 4 lines, 473 to 476, is a change to how auto parts sales tax is dedicated to transportation. In current law, it's a flat amount every year, about $145 million. This provision would change it to a percentage of 60% to transportation, 54% to HUTDF, 3% to small cities, 3% to town roads. So on 473, you'll see the reduction in revenue to general fund. and the increasing amounts to those other transportation pots. On 477 and 478 is a transfer from the general fund to the rail service improvement account for the Mercy program. 479 and 480 is a transfer from the general fund to small cities assistance account. 481 through 482 is a transfer from the general fund to the town road account. And then on 483 is the realization of revenue from a fiscal year 21 cancellation in passenger rail. Department of Public Safety, a lot of these are governor's recs, which we heard at committee. So very quickly, 486 is the deposit of abandoned funds at State Patrol. Currently in law, they have no mechanism to deposit these in the general fund, so this allows that. 487 is that revenue from the license plate fee increases to support the elimination of the HETDF funding. 488 is the decreased revenue from allowing METS plates to be given lifetime issuance rather than yearly re-registration. 489 is the new temporary trip permits for out-of-state carriers. This will increase revenue to the vehicle services account and special revenue of $168,000 a year. Line 490 is those OLA recs on process improvements for bulk data, and this will increase fee revenue to the vehicle services account. On line 491 is it's a governor's rec allowing for partial payment for driver's license reinstatements. Like I said, this is a governor's rec, anticipated revenue of $497,000 a year related to that. The next two lines are actually a mistake. I'm just going to point that out. This is modifying driver's license suspension authority. Those are on the governor's side. This language is not currently in the bill. It was accidentally copied over, so that'll be changed, but we'll ignore those for now. Line 494 is anticipated revenue from the $20 no-show fee for driver's exams, $667,000 a year to the driver services operating account. Next two lines are for salvage titles. Increased inspections means increased inspection fee revenue to the vehicle services account. Those start in fiscal year 23 to both general fund and special revenue, I should say. Line 497 is an increase of the current registration tax surcharge on electric vehicles and an addition of 3 new surcharges on plug-in hybrid electrics, electric motorcycles, and plug-in hybrid electric motorcycles. And these are the anticipated revenues for those. Those will go to HETDF. And then the next two lines are just revenue from cancellations in fiscal year 21 that we talked about. And Mr. Chair, the last thing I'll point out is the last line on line 551 shows the overall net change to the general fund. And on the Senate side, you can see in fiscal year 22 and 23, the net change is an increase of $224.9 million. 24 and 25 is 107.5, and those are the Senate issued targets for transportation. And then I have one small thing to point out in the Article 1 and A5 and the A5 amendment that is not reflected in the spreadsheet because it's not numbers, it's just words. So if you look on page 2 of the A5, lines 2.1 through 2.12, this is really the only new rider language that's not tied to an amount we already discussed. It's just a directive to the Commissioner of Transportation that appropriations from the Trunk Highway Fund in this section must not be spent on the following divisions or offices within the department. And Mr. Chair, that concludes Article 1 for me.
Thank you, Ms. Boyd. Ms. Stengel, you'd like to go through the policy, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I know we're short on time today, so I'll be working from a document that Mr. Kaluza sent out shortly before the hearing titled Senate File 1159 A5 Reference Sheet. And it's a table of the bills in there. I apologize, the document itself doesn't have a title on it, but you should have it sitting in your email inbox. So I'm going to go through sort of high level in a grouping of sections to just sort of talk about each of the bills that is in here. Of course, happy to answer questions about details of any of these provisions if there are any later. And I will note where there are changes to the bills in the amendment if they're different than how they last appeared before the committee. One last overview thing, there's a column on the reference sheet that says amended. I will say that this is amendments other than things adopted by our committee or a re-referral committee. So for example, if it went to State Gov and an amendment was added there, that's automatically included in here and isn't included as a change. So the first section of bills is Senator Newman's 583. And this is the prohibition of using HUTDF or trunk highway funds for specified purposes. Those are a lot of the transfers that Ms. Boyd talked about. This is largely the same as last time it was in committee, with the exception of a few technical changes, and section 60 of the bill is new. This requires any expenditures from the HUTDF or THF for the BCA lab to be heard by the Transportation Committee at some point before second reading. Next, we have Senator Jasinski's 747 about eminent domain commissioners requirements. Next is Senator Newman's 1151, prohibiting the use of HUTDF or trunk highway funds for establishing or building bike lanes on the trunk highway system or converting vehicle travel lanes to bicycle lanes on the trunk highway system. Next is Senator Howe's Senate File 1215. This has changed from when it was last in committee. This is the bill about bikeways being established that affect disability parking spaces. In committee, there was a discussion about working with the user of the parking spot to see if the spot could be relocated before deciding how the bike route is done. Section 7 of the bill reflects that conversation and some changes that were made and worked out after the bill was heard in committee. Next is Senator Duckworth's Senate File 655. This has various changes to the MinPass modifications. One change here is that the commissioner is required to ask the FHWA for permission to allow anybody to use MinPass lanes on specified holidays. Next is Senator Jasinski's Senate File 1300. This had to do with dedicating 10% of the trunk highway fund to the corridors of commerce and requiring project readiness as a criterion for the corridors of commerce project selection. There was a change in the A5. That 10% dedication section has been deleted, so there's no dedication of the trunk highway funds to corridors of commerce in the A5. Next is Senator Duckworth 738, and this had to do with various reporting requirements from MnDOT, one of which was the report from the Attorney General and MMB. There were some changes made to that, and the original session law where that report initially came into being in, I think, 2000 is repealed. Next is Senator Newman's 1298, the MnDOT policy provisions, the miscellaneous policy provisions. It excludes the sections on CMGC contract extensions and the Indian employment preference, but picked up all of the other sections. Then there are 4 highway designation bills that were heard. Next is Senator Newman's 957, which was the governor's budget proposal. It picked up the sections on the sale of surplus land and on drones for MnDOT. The next is Senator House 625. This dedicates, as Ms. Boyd talks about, dedicates 60% of the auto part sales tax to transportation purposes. There were a couple of changes here since it was before the committee. When the committee heard the bill before, it established a new township grant program for the towns to receive money. That new grant program is eliminated, and now the town portion goes into the existing town road account. And additionally, there was a statutory appropriation made for the small cities account to make sure the commissioner could get that money out the door. Senate File 1154, Senator Newman, was a vehicle bill that corrects various cross-references. Senator Johnson's 1491 eliminates the residency requirement for county engineers. Senator Johnson's Senate File 1686 was a soybean meal hauling vehicle permit. Change there is the effective date was pushed out to January 1st, 2022. Next, Senator Newman's 521, which is various project selection modifications and requirements for MnDOT programming. Senator Newman's 1364, this was the TPIC bill, the Transportation Programming and Investment Committee establishment. The next is Senator Newman's 1159. This is another vehicle bill, and this is the bill that removed obsolete dates from various reports. Senator Howe's 168 is the pavement selection guidelines. There are some technical and clarifying changes in there to make Senator Howe's intent more clear. Senator Newman's Senate File 520 is the local bridge replacement and rehab program modifications. Senator Jasinski's 289 is the freight network optimization tool that Ms. Boyd talked about. And Senator Abler's 2072 is the stoplight on Highway 47 at the specified intersection. And that concludes Article 2 for MnDOT. Moving on to Article 3 for DPS. The first group of sections are Senator Dibble's 1161, and these are the provisions regulating and changing how electric assist bikes are regulated. Senator Howe's 1086 is the surcharge on electric vehicles and electric motorcycles. There's one change, a technical change in the revisor instruction in that bill. Senator Jasinski, Senate File 805, is the tab kiosk bill. And there are several changes in there about how these will function and how they're located. Senate File 957, again, is the governor's budget proposal, and there are several sections that were picked up in the A5, including animal drawn vehicles, lifetime veteran plates, the plate fee increase that Ms. Boyd described, temporary trip permits, bulk data changes, allowing anyone to make partial payments for DL reinstatements, the state unclaimed property that Ms. Boyd talked about, and repealing a citizen crash report requirement. Then there are two special plates, the Minnesota 100 Club plates and the Minnesota Ag plates. Senate File 741 is Senator Newman, is the DPS policy provision bill that was picked up in its entirety. Senator Newman's 583, again, is a prohibition on the use of HETDF and trunk highway funds for specified purposes. One change here is there was a deletion of the plate, the section that dealt with plate fees, and that's because that was picked up elsewhere and being paid for. Senator Jasinski's 640 is the salvage title modification. Senator Jasinski 742 is the DPS agency bill that will allow prosecutors to receive and use crash reports. Senator Jasinski 744 is the changes to the school bus inspection criteria. Senator Jasinski's 255 is the online driver education authorization. Senate File 152 is Senator Kiffmeyer's increase to motorcycle endorsement fees. Senate File 1154 is Senator Newman, the vehicle bill that corrects cross-references. Senator Coleman's 1466 is the bill that allows the sharing of driver's license data with Social Security Administration. A change here is the effective date is now February 1st of 22, or when programming is completed, whichever is earlier. Senator Housley's 276 is third-party testing for Class D licenses. Senator Tomassoni's 454 is the bill that will prohibit denying driver's licenses based on a diagnosis of diabetes. Senator Jasinski's 1399 is the online driver's license test proctoring requirements, so who can and where they can proctor. Senator Dietz's 1641 is the Peace Corps driver's license extension bill. Senator Curran carried Senate File 1019, which had various provisions relating to the OLA. The A5 picks up one of those sections, and that's the section that modifies the frequency of the OLA salary survey of law enforcement. Senator Duckworth 656 is the pilot project for same-day driver's license. An additional location was added so that there is another pilot project being done in Moorhead, and there were also some clarifying changes. And Senator Housley's Senate File 140 was the bill that prohibited traffic violations that cause great bodily harm or death from appearing on the payables list. And this went to the Judiciary Committee, and after discussion there's some new language that was rewritten, and you'll see that's what appears in Section 72. Next, the A7 amendment that Senator Newman mentioned has a few provisions relating to DPS, so it makes sense to mention those here. The first is making additional payments to deputy registrars and driver's license agents from DPS from the operating accounts based on the number of transactions performed. The next is third-party CDL testing for road tests. The next is, as Ms. Boyd mentioned, the no-show fee for missing or canceling a driver's license road test at the last minute. The next new provision is a reporting requirement that anytime there is a request for additional funding for the state patrol relating to civil unrest or rioting, a report has to be submitted explaining why that decision was made and why that was more important than patrolling the highways. And then finally, a requirement that DPS make available appointments for school bus and CDL testing across the state. And then lastly, Article 4 is Met Council. The first set of sections picks up one of the governor's recs on counties paying for guideways. And in addition to that, there's a change that was made that repealed a few sections in 473 that relate to how light rail transit is currently paid for. Next is Senator Duckworth's 738, and this is again is various reporting requirements. Senator Duckworth's 1529 prohibits local contributions for paying for busway operations. And then the A5 amendment that Senator Newman mentioned has a few new items. The first has to do with Metro Mobility, establishing Metro Mobility to be included in the November and February forecasts, and then specifying that Metro Mobility fares must be used for METMO purposes. The next item is to require distribution of federal funds received from the various COVID-19 relief packages to opt-out providers pursuant to the federal formula. And finally, there's provision to terminate North Star commuter rail, and that requires the Commissioner of MnDOT and the Met Council to submit a request to the feds to ask them for permission to terminate North Star. And if so, there's a series of provisions in how that termination is to be completed. And those are the policy articles, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Stengel, and thank you, Ms. Boyd, for going through that so quickly and clearly. Before I go to our commissioners, I'm going to go back to Senator Newman for a couple clarifications, and then we'll go to our commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, and those who are listening in. There is one thing that I want to bring to your attention, and that involves the State Patrol. There's a number of items that were requested by the State Patrol that would include, body cameras, some additional FTEs to handle the data from the body cameras, extending the State Trooper Academy funds. There were pay raises. One of the things that in proofreading the bill that I missed and intended to put in the A5 was an additional 25 state troopers. And I apologize to you members that I just missed it when I proofread it. I apologize also to Colonel Langer. I spoke to him yesterday and told him that it was simply a mistake that it wasn't in there. So I just wanted to alert you that, give you a heads up, on Thursday you will see an amendment to include those additional 25 troopers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Newman. Okay, we have lots of testifiers, so I'm going to go through the commissioners and Colonel. So about 10 minutes apiece for these testifiers, and then we'll go to our other testifiers at about 3 minutes apiece. And we are on schedule to try and get out of here at 5:10. So with that, Commissioner Kelleher, between you and Mr. Rudin, about 10 minutes. Commissioner Kelleher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Chair and committee members. Thank you for your work on assembling this omnibus bill during a very challenging legislative session. We appreciate your recognition of the need to address transportation funding. As you know, our state's transportation system is aging and needs additional investment. However, the approach the Senate takes in this bill diverts general fund dollars and resources from priorities that have been identified in the governor's budget proposal. In addition, the trunk highway earmarks in particular divert resources from projects that have been identified through the legislatively directed project selection website. The current MnDOT project selections are data-driven and identified through an extensive and objective planning process. Legislative earmarking can negatively impact the fairness in project selection and funding. Also, the significant increase in electric vehicle fees will likely discourage people from purchasing electric vehicles. We actually need to be doing everything we can to encourage people to adopt this technology. And the legislation also does not provide the resources to expand the state's electric vehicle charging network, which is critical. Mr. Chair, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Senator Newman for including some of the department's proposals in your bill. The provisions on drones, land management, escort vehicles, turnbacks, and horse and buggy safety will allow us to make several positive changes that are going to benefit Minnesotans. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Radin for further comment on provisions in the bill.
Thank you, Commissioner Kelleher. Mr. Rudin, if you introduce yourself and proceed with your testimony.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Eric Burdine with MnDOT Government Affairs. And the prohibition on the expenditure of highway funds for department activities would have a significant impact on our operations. And while general fund resources are provided for backfilling some of those restrictions, other areas would see cuts, including program planning and delivery, agency services, and buildings. And precedents and court rulings have affirmed that it is appropriate to use trunk highway funds for these purposes. There are also several provisions in the bill that would prohibit the use of trunk highway funds for bicycle facilities. And this would create an unnecessary obstacle to MnDOT's mission of operating a safe, accessible, and reliable multimodal transportation system for all Minnesotans. As we've seen during the pandemic, Minnesotans are choosing to use bicycles more often, and providing safe, well-designed facilities for them to use where vehicle traffic exists is better for everyone. The proposed changes to the MnPass statutes mean that really, in effect, no revenue would likely be available for transit service in those MnPass corridors. And enhancing transit service is really one of the primary goals of the MnPass system. The bill also includes other provisions that would make it more challenging to effectively manage the MnPass system. In most cases, TPIC, as we refer to it, the Transportation Programming Investment Committee does not select projects. It sets high-level investment direction and provides programming guidance to the MnDOT districts. Most project selection occurs at the district level through the area transportation partnerships. And inserting legislators into an executive branch function is not an appropriate way to provide legislative input. Additionally, the requirement for legislators to be present will make it challenging for the committee to conduct their business, since we all know legislators have so many demands on their time. We're certainly open to considering alternatives for providing opportunities for legislators to give that input and provide their insights into transportation investment management. MnDOT has developed a pavement investment evaluator software program that will help us manage trunk highway pavements for the long term. The requirement in this bill for every pavement selection to have central office sign off would require a significant amount of additional work. And so the department suggests limiting this to a review rather than an approval. We've also suggested adding a reference to other criteria instead of having the guide be the only thing that determines pavement selection. We know that with current limited resources, we cannot always afford the best fix on every road. And we do need to balance long-term pavement projects with other investments on the trunk highway system. Finally, Mr. Chair, the bill does not include several department initiatives that would enhance our transportation system, including small contracts to advance equity, salt reduction, sustainability and public health, cybersecurity and risk management, rail safety and development, addressing homeless encampments on trunk highway right-of-way, the full department requests for increased state road construction, budget adjustments for operating pressures, adjusting the administrative cap for transit assistance, removing the cap on the number of construction manager general contractor projects. And we're certainly continuing to talk about this with the contracting community and others. And then implementing an Indian employment preference for projects on or near reservations. The department has, in response to some concerns, agreed to a 60-mile limitation for that employment preference. So we would certainly be willing to see that included in the bill if that would satisfy people's concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Radin. Next on my list is Commissioner Harrington. Commissioner Harrington, you have about 10 minutes to go through your portion of the bill. Commissioner Harrington, please introduce yourself and proceed.
Mr. Chair, my name is John Harrington. I'm the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. I want to thank you for inviting us to be today. I'm going to try and go through this as quickly as possible, although it's as your staff noted, the DVS portion of this is long and somewhat complex. I'm also going to try and save enough time so that Colonel Langer has some time to address some of the issues that we have with the State Patrol. What I wanted to say to begin with is when I arrived at DPS, one of the first people I talked to was Senator Newman, and he expressed some very deep concerns about MNLARS, and it was one of Governor Walz's top priorities also. And together, working with your committee, the House Committee, and the Governor's Office, we found some solutions to that right now are in play and are working very, very well. And it was in that process of working together that I think we really have a model for how we at DPS would like to operate. I want to thank you for both recognizing the need to pay the State Patrol for the vital work that they do every day. You have included some essential pieces for the State Patrol, including making sure that the troopers' accountability is guaranteed and safeguarded. I think body cameras do that as well as any device we can, and I am very appreciative that we're going to move the State Patrol into the 21st century with most of the other policing agencies so that when they do good work and we have an unwarranted accusation, that they can be clear to that. And when they have someone that steps out of line, we want to be able to hold them accountable because that's the tradition of excellence the State Patrol represents. I would have liked to see, and I appreciate Senator Newman's notes at the end that he has found a way to put some additional people in that bill, because I was very, very concerned about our ability to safeguard the Capitol and to do not just the road safety work that we need to do, but also to make sure that we are there to protect the Capitol and make sure that the People's House is in fact open for business every day, and that the people that have the election certificates and the staff, the state employees, are able to do that safely without looking over their shoulder. And as I said, I'll try and save enough time so that Colonel Lanker can also speak. I am a little bit concerned on the DPS as an agency part of this. The bill doesn't include the requested operating adjustment. DPS operates like every other agency in the state in a world where we rent space, we pay for gas, we have health care and costs that go up. And when they go up and we do not get an operating adjustment, we are then forced to make other adjustments within to try and find ways to fund the space that we operate out of, to fund the gas for the cars to go out and respond to calls, and to make sure that our staff are in fact employed and adequately covered. So I am concerned about that. I am also really concerned about this 5% cut to the Office of Traffic Safety. This year, we've had 74 fatalities on Minnesota roads. That compares to 66 in 2020. We're seeing faster speeds, more distracted driving, and more crashes. And I think it's important to note that the Office of Traffic Safety is a partner with the State Patrol in creating the environment of traffic safety. MnDOT and the State Patrol work together to try and make sure that the engineering, the education, and the enforcement that makes people safe as they're driving on Minnesota roads are kept that way. And so I'm very concerned. We also recognize that since OTS is primarily funded by federal dollars, that cuts from OTS would in fact reduce the amount of state dollars that the state gets from the feds also. Finally, I'll pivot to DVS, which has got probably the most of my talking points about that. I am just delighted to see the Real ID temp staffing was funded. The lifetime veteran plates, I think we all recognize that was something we need to do. We're working on those OLA recommendations and the partial pay for all of those things. The license plate fee restructure, great fiscal public policy change. We really enjoyed that. There are some investments that we would have liked to have seen in the budget that we did not see. One of those areas is specifically trying to deal with backlogs. And I know that is an area that has been near and dear to your heart and near and dear to Senator Hiffmeyer's and Newman's and many others' hearts, in terms of whether it was the backlogs on titles back when I first got here or the backlogs in driver's license about a year after I got here. Neither of those are acceptable. And we recognize that at DPS, and DVS does too. And so we have been trying to move, it's been somewhat of a shell game as we move bodies around as quickly as possible to see where we are. And so the additional funding, the operating request we had, we thought to be able to stabilize that and to reduce the level of backlog to a level that we all thought would in fact represent what good public service looks like. It is a model that I think you would like to see. I know I would like to see, and I think the DRs would also like to see. Just to give you a frame of reference, and this has come down from its high points, but we're still at 20 days to get a driver's license. And we're still at 42 days to get a title. And that with brand new systems that are operating much better, but we are still not able to handle the volume because we don't have the amount of staff that we really need to have there. Our proposals would allow us to do that and also allow us to update the facilities that we're working from. Exam sites have become a hot topic recently, and we are trying to make sure that we have new boilers so that they're operating during the wintertime, paved so that folks can have their driver's license, lights on so we can operate later in the evening and operate on weekends. We need to get these positions staffed. I am concerned about the third-party driver's license road testing component here. We have repeatedly testified that we don't think this really supports driver safety. And as I said, we're seeing crashes go up. Fatality rates are up 15%. And so we think this is not a change that will in fact enhance driver safety. We have some concerns about the conflict of interest of who the third-party Class D testers might be. Is that going to be the same people that provide the instruction? How would we know and how would we validate that? The OLA, in fact, thought the third-party Class D testers required a lot of oversight, and we would need to see more work in that area if such. Finally, on the area of MNLARS, we want to make sure that we are staffing to both optimize the system and prepared to keep up with new technology, similar to the kiosk proposal and other self-service options. We need to do that, and we're going to need to have the staff to be able to do the training for our deputy registers. Finally, the last piece for me is the deputy register funding piece. I really think that if we take the money out of the special revenue funds rather than increasing the fees, that we will eventually bankrupt that fund, and that is the rainy day fund for being able to make those fixes that we need in the system. In conclusion, I want to thank you for both recognizing the funding needs of DPS, the State Patrol, OTS, DVS, and the policy pieces that you have pushed forward. I want you to know that we've taken the investment that you've made in the past as a mandate to produce real results. And I think you've seen with MNLARS and other things that we've produced those results. I'd like to ask you to continue to make those investments so that we can not only just meet those needs, but be ready for the next set of needs that are coming up. And at this time, I would be happy to turn it over to Colonel Matt Langer of the Minnesota State Patrol.
Thank you, Commissioner Harrington. Next guest on my list is Colonel Matt Langer. Please introduce yourself and proceed. Welcome.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I have the honor and privilege of serving as Chief of the Minnesota State Patrol. My name is Matt Langer. I'll be exceptionally brief here. Members of the committee, Mr. Chair, number one, I'm extremely pleased that you helped us out with some language on the abandoned cash, as was described, depositing those funds back to the general fund. Body-worn cameras, as Commissioner Harrington pointed out, really a strong need for the State Patrol, and we look forward to that proceeding. We appreciate the help with some funds to carry forward across the biennium, across the fiscal year, so that we can exercise good government and get the Lido Academy graduated later this summer. Also appreciate some policy language related to school bus inspections. Where we'd like to have some additional conversation and frankly some movement, I hope, with some additional conversation is what we're looking for in terms of our need related to the tails of the 8.4% salary increase provided to state troopers. I know in speaking with Chair Newman and Senator Howe and others that you're aware of that, and we appreciate your concern with our needs related to the increase in salary and the tails that brings with it. We are greatly appreciative of the 25 troopers that I think will be added in Thursday. As I understand, Chair Newman and others have communicated that to us. We think that's really important. Our ask is for 42 troopers, so we hope to have some additional conversation there. As the commissioner pointed out, the fatal crashes in Minnesota are unfortunately on the uptick in a way that is really troubling. And the challenges that our state troopers are facing every day on the roads with speeders and the different issues that are affecting traffic safety all across the state are really profound right now, and we hope to make a difference. So our ask is 42. We're appreciative of the 25 that will be added in. And then on the capital security side of things, you know, we're sort of in a newfound reality right now in how we do capital security and the expectations put forth by those that work or legislate or visit the Capitol and their expectations on how we maintain public safety there in light of the current threats that have been faced at the Capitol, both here and across the country and other state capitals. And so we look forward to some additional conversation on how we can increase our staffing at the state capitol to provide that service. And last but not least, I know it's been a topic of conversation with this committee and others, but the State Patrol's response to civil unrest in Minneapolis and beyond for the ongoing trial of Derek Chauvin and the upcoming trial of the other 3 former officers, we definitely are going to be in need of some relief related to what is expected of us by those local authorities and their need of the State Patrol to assist them in their endeavors to keep public safety, keep the peace and keep public safety at the forefront in their communities. So, Mr. Chair and members, I look forward to further conversation on those topics, and we, like always, appreciate the support of the things you have already included in your omnibus bill.
Thank you, Colonel. Next, we have the Chair of the Met Council, Charlie Zelle. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm Charlie Zelle, and it's my honor to serve as Chair of the Metropolitan Council. I appreciate the opportunity to make some comments on the proposed legislation and express some concerns. First off, as you all know, as I testified before earlier this year, this last year, Met Transit has been deeply affected by the pandemic. Our ridership's down significantly. So, but for this 3 different tranches of federal relief, we would have had to make draconian cuts. The CARES Act, CARISA funds, and now, of course, the incoming ARP funds has really been a great blessing, but they are one-time funds, and they actually are covering many of the operating shortfalls and then some. But will be spent, and our one concern about eliminating the general fund appropriations and as well as the distribution of in-pass revenues to make transit a lower priority and transferring the county responsibility for the orange line, all of which kind of makes our deficits in the structural deficit worse. So the federal funds does provide an ability to for us not to ask for an increase, to keep the base funding, but we think maintaining the base funding is really important. So we kind of oppose the reductions that's contemplated through fiscal year 24. Regarding the termination of the North Star commuter line, this is something we've been in conversation with our funding partners. Certainly, it was hit more dramatically during this past year with the COVID. Ridership is down 95%, no question. We made some significant adjustments by reducing it, the level of service, but we don't think now is the time to make a long-term decision. Just as now ridership is eking back, we think that the economy is opening up. It continues to be something we ought to be looking at, but this year is not the time before recovery. Plus, with these federal funds, we're able to sustain that reduced service and be smarter in the years ahead to make some kind of long-term adjustments if that's deemed advisable. Appreciate the addressing the Metro Mobility's growing financial needs. This is a mandated program, both at the state level and by the federal government. So, stable funding is really critical, and we really actually look forward to working with you to discuss the potential of having it as a forecasted item and a forecasted service in the future. We think is a really good idea, and we look forward to working with you on that. I just want to address the issue of the guideway operating and capital maintenance costs. The council and counties have been in regular communication. We've had conversations. We expect to continue those conversations. The real issue here is how do we address the full costs of these expensive guideways going forward? The governor revised his language to advance the idea of having more conversations. At this point, we actually don't think legislation is required for us to have these kind of long-term planning. We need a long-term plan, but we are retracting all language associated with any mandates because we feel confident we can work with counties toward a long-term plan to address this capital maintenance cost, which is really the issue that we're concerned about. So we actually oppose the language that is presented here in the Senate bill. I'm actually hoping that we can come together and pass a proposal to reduce the penalty for fare evasion. This is an issue that we've talked about over the past couple of years, has great bipartisan interest. If we are allowed to have non-sworn personnel to issue administrative citations, we are able to get more personnel, more Metro Transit Police, all the other safety initiatives as we lean into very important safety work. And we are actually gratifying that and encouraged that SF 1513 passed out of your committee. So we think that is an opportunity for us to move forward this year. And lastly, I really appreciate your, if you'd consider authorization of regional transit bonds. These are important because it helps for fleet replacement for not only Metro Transit, but Metro Mobility and our opt-out transit providers as well. These bonds are for the match to access federal funding. So for just the 20% that we put forward, we really cover a lot of the fleet replacement, bus replacements for the entire system. So we think that is the limited bonding authority that Met Council has. It's money well spent. So I tried to beat my 10 minutes to allow more time for other testifiers. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and members, for allowing me to present those comments.
Thank you, Chair Zelli, commissioners and Colonel and staff. You all stuck to the time frame. And now comes the harder part, under 3 minutes, but I will interrupt at 3 minutes and let you know it's been 3 minutes. We're right on schedule. So if we have 21 testifiers at 3 minutes apiece, we will be done on time or just slightly after 5. So with that, I'm going to turn our first testifier, Tony Carter. Please introduce yourself, state who you're with, and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. I'm Ramsey County Commissioner and Board Chair Tony Carter, and I just want to appreciate the opportunity to testify today respectfully in opposition to a couple of provisions in SF 1159, your omnibus transportation funding bill. Specifically Article 1, Section 3, which is the transit and metro mobility cuts to the Met Council's budget, and Article 4, Section 1, which is the governor's language that shifts current Met Council responsibility to the counties. No matter what, in times of COVID, stress or not, we know the region benefits from an integrated transportation system, and our state, our cities, and our counties all support a network that helps our millions of residents get to the things that are important to them. Jobs, events, healthcare services, restaurants, family, friends. As it would be with any multi-layered system, it requires many partners to build, operate, and maintain such an integrated system. Ramsey County has long been a partner of the state and this Twin Cities region when it comes to both transportation projects and transit needs. We commit as partners, knowing that delivering important transportation projects requires many agencies to contribute. So in Ramsey County, our transportation sales tax and regional rail authority levy dollars are committed through the year 2053 to pay for the transit guideways in our county. Our funds are used as a match to bring federal dollars to Minnesota. Asking a few counties to take on even greater transit guideway costs not only puts key projects at greater risk, it is also an act of bad faith among partners who've expended resources and worked hard only to see long-planned projects that are important to our communities and our businesses put on hold. The investments we've made in partnership with the state and Met Council have helped to bring equity to the urban core by providing high-quality transit to underserved communities. The business community has asked for these investments. Projects like light rail and expansions to the bus system have made Minnesota more attractive to employers and employees out of state. Ease congestion, help to connect thousands of people to jobs, healthcare, and other essential services. We strongly support a comprehensive transportation funding package that includes transit, This bill does not advance the needed transportation funding investments the state needs, and to which I encourage you to be open in the next several weeks of session. Thank you so much for the opportunity today.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Next on my list, Ms. Lisa Wyke, sorry. Can introduce yourself, state who you're with, and proceed, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Lisa Wyke. I serve as chair of the Washington County Board and former vice chair of the county's Transit Improvement Board, or CTIB. I do appreciate the chance to testify today. First, I want to start by thanking you for inclusion of funding for the 4th Street Bridge Project, Article 1, Section 40, which is supported by Washington County, the City of Oakdale, MnDOT, and East Metro Strong. This will ensure that the Gold Line Bus Rapid Transit Corridor will not have to operate on a 2-lane bridge, improving safety and removing a pedestrian barrier. But I also want to express Washington County's concern with the language in Article 4, Section 1, that shifts operational and maintenance costs for guideways onto counties. Counties have been willing to make an investment in transit because we were routinely hearing from the business community that a robust and modern regional transit system was critical to employer recruitment, retention, and expansion. The system we built and continue to build is an economic engine for the regional and state economies. I took critical votes at CTIB and the vote to reimpose the transportation sales tax in Washington County when CTIB dissolved. I assure you, we were clear to the public that our financial commitment was only for capital dollars that match federal dollars, no more than 50% operational funds, and no ongoing capital maintenance. I do appreciate Chair Zelli's open door policy. We have had many respectful and informative meetings together. The proposal, though, does put the entire East Metro build out of the regional transit system at risk. County transportation sales tax dollars are fully budgeted to match the federal dollars for Highway 36, Red Rock, and Rush Line bus rapid transit corridors in Washington County that are important to all of our residents. The forced redirection of those dollars would allow new federal money to flow to other regions. We are committed to work with the legislature and Metropolitan Council to find a reasonable and balanced approach to ongoing capital expenses for guideways, including the Gold Line. And we encourage you to allow us the time to do so and not include the language that is currently in the bill. Thank you for this time today.
Thank you, Ms. Wyke. Next on my list, Mr. Jeff Lund. Please introduce yourself, state who you're with, and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Jeff Lundy. I'm a Hennepin County Commissioner for District 1. Hennepin County strives to deliver a safe, sustainable transport, has secured over $2.5 billion in federal funds to our state, supported thousands of construction jobs, and has generated billions in economic development. The Guideway funding policy change in SF 1159 completely overturns this funding partnership. The policy will remove local control of local tax dollars and would make counties legally responsible for all costs to build, operate, and maintain transit guideways not covered by dedicated sources. We would lose all fiscal oversight and leverage to control costs. The unelected Met Council would have the power to make all spending decisions, and the county's property and sales tax would serve as a blank check for the Met Council's wants and needs. As a result, the policy change would shift significant cost to maintain state assets onto local governments and inhibit our ability to continue to expand the system. The bill also cuts general fund dollars for 3 years for operating Metro Transit and Metro Mobility. Without the state funding, the Met Council would be forced to shift even more funding onto counties to meet basic service needs. This moment calls for sustainable long-term funding solutions to deliver more equitable, high-quality transit to underserved communities, better connect people with jobs, reduce carbon emissions, continue to build a thriving regional economy. In closing, I would just say this to the committee. Hennepin County stands ready to partner with cities, counties, state, MnDOT, the legislature, and yes, even the Met Council to figure out a pattern that we can support a sustainable transit system for everyone. Getting a bill in the mail is not a partnership. We ask to be full partners at the table, helping to make decisions that take our taxpayers into account. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lundy. Next, Mr. Jason Flores. Please introduce yourself and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jason Flores. I'm the State Director for Americans for Prosperity here in Minnesota. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today to testify on some of the provisions included in the omnibus bill. First, I want to say thank you for prioritizing investment in transportation infrastructure. Transportation is one of the core constitutional responsibilities that the state has, and we are happy to see that importance reflected here, both by protecting the constitutionally dedicated funds and ensuring that they go to the purposes they were meant for, and by committing additional general fund dollars, showing that transportation is a core responsibility that should be funded and considered side by side with other priorities within the budget. Too often, infrastructure needs are used to simply justify taking more dollars from Minnesota taxpayers despite current surpluses by raising the gas tax, increasing fees, hiding those increases by changing depreciation schedules or indexing taxes already in place, or by just kicking the can down the road through massive borrowing-only packages. The approach in this bill is more transparent, more accountable, and more fiscally responsible in the long run. I do want to take a moment and call attention to one important reform that did not make it into the final bill. That's Senate File 432, authored by Senator Ingebretson, which would have made changes to the state's driver's license suspension process for unpaid debts. At both committee stops the bill made, both here and in the Judiciary Committee, members voiced broad support for the bill, and there is a strong coalition now working to get it across the finish line. That bipartisan support exists because of the recognition of the cascading set of unintended difficulties that license suspension has on individuals and on their families. The state's action here in taking someone's ability to get to work away actually makes it harder to get those original debts paid. There's also broad agreement that law enforcement resources should be focused on ensuring public safety, not on being debt collectors. The additional cost of processing traffic stops related to driver's license suspensions adds up to millions of dollars in substantial officer and court time that could be and should be targeted at more critical public safety needs. Now, those reforms do not let offenders off the hook. We have alternatives already in place to ensure that people are held accountable for paying their debts. And it does not change suspension of licenses under Minnesota's habitual violator law. For those that are concerned with just ignoring multiple summonses, and that would be a way out. Or it does not change suspension for dangerous or negligent driving. Those dangerous and unsafe drivers will still be held to account, but the suspensions would only be tied to driving behavior and threats to public safety and not to someone's ability to pay. Thank you again for a strong transportation funding bill that prioritizes the additions that we need to make to our infrastructure and addresses the needs of Minnesotans across the state. As you move forward to this bill over the course of the next couple of days, I do hope that you can find a way to include the important driver's license suspension reforms that were already passed by the committee once in Senate File 432. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Next, Mrs. Margaret Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, I'm Margaret Donahoe, Executive Director of the Minnesota Transportation Alliance. Transportation Alliance members, whether counties, cities, townships, transit systems, or the highway industry, are all directly impacted by the funding levels and policies contained in Senate File 1159. So we really appreciate the opportunity to testify today. We would like to commend the Senate for increasing the level of funding for road and bridge repair. Given the projected $1.6 billion surplus, as well as additional federal funds the state will receive through the American Rescue Plan, we believe that the state is in a position to dedicate more than the current 0.07% of total general fund revenue to transportation. In particular, we support the provision that changes the statutory dedication of the sales tax on auto repair parts to 60% of the total revenue collected. Hopefully, that percentage will be increased in the future as construction costs and needs increase. With additional revenue into the Highway User Tax Distribution Fund, the Alliance also supports dedicating additional revenue to small cities and township roads. We strongly support the additional general fund appropriation for the local bridge replacement program and the local road improvement program. While these programs were funded in the last bonding bill, many projects that are ready for construction were not able to be funded with those bond dollars. Increasing the electric vehicle fee is also important. We support adjusting the annual electric vehicle fee currently being collected to a level that is more in line with what Minnesota drivers pay in fuel taxes, which will help to prevent a growing loss of revenue into the Highway User Fund. Alliance members are concerned about the cut in general funding for metropolitan area transits. As you heard, the one-time federal funds will not address the ongoing structural deficit for transit or the need to build out the transit network in the region. Overall, Minnesota's transportation system continues to face huge shortfalls. The number of individual projects funded in this bill speaks to the dramatic backlog of projects that are waiting for funding. The state needs a long-term transportation funding package with significant increases in dedicated fees to adequately meet our transportation needs. We want Minnesota to be in a strong position to compete for federal infrastructure funds. We definitely appreciate the committee's interest in ensuring that highway dollars are used for a highway purpose. And we definitely appreciate the resources in this bill. But our members are concerned about the stability of some of these funds in the future. And so we'll continue to advocate for increases in constitutionally dedicated transportation dollars. Increased investments in needed transportation infrastructure will speed the state's recovery from the pandemic and create the transportation system we will need for the future. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this bill.
Thank you, Ms. Donahue. Next, Mr. Bentley Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Bentley Graves. I'm with the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, and I appreciate the opportunity to testify today. I want to just draw attention to a few pieces of the bill that we strongly support. The first of which, as Ms. Donahoe mentioned, is the bill's movement of the auto parts transfer from the general fund to transportation from a fixed dollar amount to that 60%. That's both an increase and more importantly, will ensure that funding source grows over time. You know, we've long supported the use of these dollars for transportation purposes, and that's one of the biggest reasons because it's as a sales tax revenue source, something that can keep pace with inflation over time and grow over time, and moving it to percentage will allow to do that. And as Ms. Donahoe suggested, we certainly hope to see too that figure grow over time, but we do believe this is an important first step to ensure that it's there as a growing funding source over time. Similarly, we support the changes in the bill to ensure that the electric vehicles, as that fleet grows, makes an equitable contribution to the maintenance and upkeep of our transportation system. We believe that now is the time to do that. Well, the size of the fleet is relatively small, but we do think that this is an important piece to do now, projecting the growth of that fleet over time to grow and to ensure that, again, that as it grows, that its contributions to the maintenance of the system is commensurate with those who drive gas-powered vehicles. We also very much appreciate the inclusion of funding for the freight optimization tool that Senator Jasinski brought forward. This is something that a number of other states have used to great success, both in terms of economic development and ensuring that businesses who want to come to their state or grow and expand in their states have access to data to help them understand how they can do that and where they can do that within the state to maximize their supply chain needs, but also can provide another tool in the toolbox for MnDOT in helping understand where it can get the biggest bang for the buck and investments it's making around the state to help the movement of freight and goods and commerce through our state. So very much appreciate the inclusion of that as well. And finally, want to echo comments made earlier about the funding for Real ID. This is something that we've been working on for a number of years. And while the deadline has been pushed out now till this fall, we do expect that as folks get their vaccines, as commerce picks up, as travel picks up, the demand for those Real IDs will increase. And we appreciate the funding being made remade available to the department to ensure that they have the resources to address that demand. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members, for the opportunity to testify. And I'll you back.
Thank you, Mr. Graves. Next on the list is Jess McCann. Jess McCann, I didn't see the name up there yet. If not, we'll proceed on the next testifier. Next testifier is Joe Christensen.
Yeah, my name is Joe Christensen. Thank you, Chair and committee. I am a member of the MDTSCA, Minnesota Driver and Traffic Safety Education Association Legislative Committee. I am speaking in opposition to what was Senate File 255, which is a major policy change that has not been discussed sufficiently. The teacherless driver education proposed is not in keeping with state laws, state rules, and the national standards. And I ask that the wording from Senate File 255 be removed. I thank you, committee, and hope that you do the right thing.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. Next on my list, Mr. Pete Hosmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'm going to kind of echo what Joe just said. My name is Pete Hosmer. I own A+ Driving School. We're one of the biggest driving schools in the state. In 2020, we had around 9,000 students, and we've been teaching classroom and behind the wheel driver's education. And over this COVID period, we've taught about 7,000 students through what is considered teleconferencing variants. Now, the bill that's been proposed is an online driver's education bill, and it's been pushed as, let's just continue with what we've been doing. But you got to know that this is dramatically different than what we've actually been doing through teleconferencing. This bill is calling for this, and there's two words I want you to understand at the end of this conversation. The word is asynchronous education and synchronous education. Now, synchronous education is what we've been doing. That is instructor-led, face-to-face or in-person or teleconferenced driver's education. Asynchronous is what this bill is proposing, is log in whenever you want, 14 or 15-year-old, and take driver's education. Now, this is something that is going to affect all of us because we all drive on the roads. What is the most dangerous thing we ever learn how to do in our life? It is driving. And we learn how to do it when we are 14, 15, 16 years old, and our brains haven't even fully functioned yet. So what I would like to get across is the bill is asking for asynchronous education, where students can log in at any time, 2 o'clock in the morning, and take driver's education. Now, we've been doing teleconferencing driver's education, which can be considered online, and we have students all class long chatting in questions, asking us questions. Now, raise your hand if you would want to drive on the road with a kid who learned the rule of the right-of-way at 2 o'clock in the morning when he had a number of questions to ask, but there was no live instructor on the other end to answer the question. Or would you want to drive with a student who was able to ask, who has the right-of-way at an uncontrolled intersection? Who has the right-of-way when I'm merging onto the freeway? All right. So you need to be aware that the bill is proposing online, and I'm for online education, but I'm not for asynchronous, letting people log in whenever they want. The bill was also proposed as being more flexible for students. We need a way for students not to miss activities because of driver's ed. Well, I'm sorry, but again, the most dangerous thing you're ever going to learn how to do is drive, and it needs to be put a little bit higher pedestal than sports activities or other activities that you could maybe move to another time. Now, that being said, driver's ed is as flexible as possible. We are right now offering 3 classes a day. If a student needs to miss a class, they can always make it up in another session. They can attend another time. I don't think any one of us thinks we want to have a 14-year-old or 15-year-old kid logging in and taking driver's ed at 2 o'clock in the morning. That just doesn't make sense safety-wise. One other thing I'd like to point out too is during this COVID period, there was a variance that was applied for through Department of Public Safety to allow asynchronous driver's education. The taking, logging in and taking it whenever you want. And that should be noted that variance was vetoed by the Department of Public Safety. So I know they're not allowed to say if they are for this or against it, but in vetoing that variance, it makes me think that they are probably against it. So I would just like you to think about that. Who do you want to be driving on the roads with? We've seen other states' accidents rates go up when we have students taking asynchronous driver's education. So that is all I have to say. I'm very passionate about it. I had everything written. I'd say it really nicely, but I just went off the cue cards and just wanted to thank you. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. Hosmer. Next, we have Ms. Rachel Wilson. Please introduce yourself, state who you're with, and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee for opportunity to testify at today's hearing. My name is Rachel Wilson. I'm the Director of Driver Education Programs for AAA, the Auto Club Group. I've taught driver education for almost 15 years and trained over 1,000 students. I'm speaking today in support of the provision allowing online driver education programs. This provision is aimed at providing teens the option to take the bookwork portion of driver training online rather than on location at a driving school. Students would have the support of a licensed Minnesota instructor during class if needed. Students would still be required to complete driving lessons with a licensed Minnesota instructor and successfully pass the state exam. Traditional classroom driver education would continue to remain as an option. This simply adds an alternative option for teens to make their driver education as productive and accessible as possible. 28 states already allow online driver education in some form, and to date, over 100,000 students have successfully completed AAA's online How to Drive education program. In addition, online driver education offers a plethora of benefits that in-person instruction simply cannot. For example, teens in remote locations may not have access to quality driver education. Now they would. Many conditions can create challenges for students to attend in-person classes, such as parent schedules, weather, or even a pandemic. Students can work through the course at times that work best for them, rather than being forced to conform to an inflexible 30-hour meeting schedule. They won't have to sacrifice sports, jobs, school, or any other commitments during their driver education. It would also allow students to learn at their own pace, which is particularly important for those students who need more time to grasp certain concepts. A high-quality online driver education program, such as AAA's, which, by the way, actually exceeds national content standards, encourages more student engagement and involvement than some traditional classroom courses because the technology intelligently incorporates quizzes, interactive traffic scenarios, and various other tools to increase student participation and retention of content. Online technology offers the instructional variety needed to engage all types of learners. And in summary, high-quality driver education can certainly be delivered by different means. Allowing online driver education as an alternative option to the existing in-person classroom portion of driver training is something Minnesota teens can really benefit from. Research shows that a quality online course is just as good and at times better than in-person instruction, while offering some distinct advantages over traditional in-person instruction. Thank you for your time today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Next on my list, Mr. Dorian Grilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dorian Grilly. I work for the Bicycle Alliance of Minnesota, and thanks for the opportunity to testify today. And thank you on behalf of the bicycle industry and the Bicycle Alliance members for including the electric assist bicycle updates in this bill. It's important to keep up with the market. They are becoming ever more popular. Sales have been growing 100% a year for the last 3 or 4 years, and they play an important role in our tourism economy. We are again hoping you will consider including the bike policy language that was passed as part of your omnibus bill a couple years ago and vetoed by Governor Dayton. It can be found in Senate File 2131, authored by Senator Howe. This is the exact language that passed the House 122-0 in 2019. We're also hoping that you would include some funding for active transportation, the MnDOT grant program found in Minnesota Statute 174-38. Communities across the state recognize that safe and convenient biking and walking are essential assets needed for them to thrive. 32 have been nationally ranked as bicycle friendly, only 7 of which are in the metro. Many more are actively pursuing the bike-friendly ranking. Therefore, I'd like to suggest to you that you consider including the Pedal Minnesota license plate, along with the other specialty plates that are included in the bill already. The proceeds would be dedicated to the Active Transportation Grant Program. The language can be found in Senate File 2079, authored by Senator Ann Johnson Stewart. Finally, I will again bring up our opposition to the language that would not allow trunk highway funds or lanes to be used for bike lanes or bike routes. 4 to 3 lane conversions are very clearly safer for motorists, especially in crowded downtowns where the most common crash is rear-ending someone stopped to turn left. MnDOT is capable of doing traffic studies that ensure that the conversions are done in places where it will not impact traffic flow and the space left over can be used for bike lanes and/or wider sidewalks. I think that communities and businesses should have some say in the construction, reconstruction of those trunk highways, which are often their downtown and main commercial streets. Lake City, St. Peter, Glenwood, St. Paul, Little Falls, and several others have said yes to bike lanes. Bayport and others have said no. Thanks for hearing my testimony today.
Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Next, Mr. Shane Zart.
Well, thank you, Chair and members. My name is Shane Zart. I'm with the firm Flaherty and Hood, and I'm here representing the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities, which is an organization of more than 100 cities, all located outside of the Twin Cities metropolitan area. And there are a number of investments made in this bill that the CGMC is supportive of. So I'll be brief, but go through a couple of them. For one, I want to thank the chair and the committee for the investments that will be made in this bill in city streets of all sizes. But I want to make particular note of the investments made in small city streets. As you know, as a committee, these cities have long struggled with the lack of a dedicated funding source to provide state aid to their local streets. So the dedicated stream of funding that would be created in this bill would be a landmark in providing some support for those communities and their local roads. We also support that this bill would make investments in the Corridors of Commerce program to continue to make safety and capacity improvements around the state. And the addition of a project readiness criteria to that program's project selection process is also an important and necessary step, but may only be one of a few changes necessary to ensure that that program can make best use of its dollars. So that's an important step, but we encourage the committee to continue to work with the department and stakeholders to ensure that that program is sound, transparent, and effective. So finally, to keep it brief, I want to name off a few other things we support in the bill, including the local road improvement program, local bridge replacement program, and the airport infrastructure renewal or air grants program, which is a program that's shown early success as an economic development tool to harness development and potential at Greater Minnesota airports. And so I'll wrap up just by saying, we support many of the investments in the bill here today. I do agree with some of the previous testifiers that what our state's infrastructure needs is a long-term comprehensive transportation package with new dedicated revenues. So we look forward to seeing these investments move forward and look forward to the opportunity to continue to work with the committee and others as we seek to make those investments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zart. Next, Mr. Todd Hill.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Todd Hill with Hill Capital Strategies, and I'm here on behalf of my client, the Deputy Register Business Owners Association, or more commonly referred to as the Private Deputy Registers. On behalf of my client, I'm here to express our support for two provisions in this bill today. The first is the inclusion of the kiosk language in the A5 amendment. We believe that kiosks will benefit all Minnesotans, will help deputy registers expand their services and hours of operation. We are excited to begin the development and rollout of kiosks and working with DVS to implement this new service. The second provision we are here to support is in the language in the A7 amendment, which provides for a new revenue sharing model between DVS and the registrars for the fees that are currently collected. This proposal recognizes the shift of the work burden to the front desk of the registrars from DVS. I provided Mr. Kaluza, and I know that he shared it with members of the committee, or an executive summary of the most recent time and motion study conducted by the deputy registers. And that study just reaffirms transactions are taking longer and longer to process, and more work is being shifted to the deputy registers. Both of these proposals recognize the limitations that the deputy registers face and their limited ability to generate additional revenue. And so that is why we are very supportive of both of them. And I also wanted to specifically thank Senator Jasinski and Senator Newman and your staff for all the work last week on this revenue sharing approach. We look forward to continuing the conversation throughout the rest of the legislative session and in the conference committee. And, Commissioner Harrington made a comment that his concern about using what he views as a rainy day fund. And I will just tell you, for the deputy registers, it is no longer raining. We have been facing a tsunami for a number of years, and we have to make some changes to how we're paying deputy registers and how we're allowing those businesses to operate. And so with that, we're very supportive of both provisions. We thank the Senate for the leadership on these issues, and we look forward to continuing our work on throughout the rest of the session.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Next, Ms. Emily Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Emily Murray with the Association of Minnesota Counties, also representing the Minnesota County Engineers Association. On behalf of both organizations representing all of Minnesota's 87 counties, I want to offer some brief comments on the A5 amendment to Senate File 1159. We first want to offer our support for the general fund appropriation for the local bridge or local road and bridge programs. The bonding bill that passed last fall included significant investments in these programs, but there are still plenty of local bridge and road projects statewide that would benefit from this additional funding. There are over 600 deficient local bridges that need funding over the next 3 years. Additionally, the most recent solicitation for the local road improvement program received over 400 applications for the funding included in last year's bonding bill, well exceeding the amount available. We also appreciate the inclusion of Senator Newman's language to provide statutory clarification for the bridge grant program. Current law has led to some confusion as to when state aid can award grants for bridges that are part of a larger transportation project, where the total project costs exceed $7 million, yet the grant requested to replace a bridge is less than $7 million. We believe this language will provide needed clarity when awarding bridge grants by instead focusing on the total bridge cost estimate. We do want to share our concerns with the inclusion of the language from the governor's transportation budget recommendations relating to the funding of guideways. This language creates a cost shift to counties for the funding of current and future guideways, removing local control of locally raised tax dollars. This is a significant issue that needs to be addressed by all parties, and counties shouldn't be required to shoulder these costs on their own. We believe this conversation should only happen as part of a comprehensive transportation funding package that includes new dedicated revenue for roads, bridges, and transit. On behalf of counties, I want to thank Senator Newman and the committee for your work on this funding proposal, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you, Ms. Murray. Next, we have Mr. Brad Lindell.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Brad Lundell today with the Minnesota Association for Pupil Transportation, testifying in strong support of Subdivision 3 of Article 1, Section 4, the $35 million over the biennium to install stop arm cameras on school buses throughout the state. As everyone here knows and has heard in previous sessions, stop arm violations are rampant. There's over 100,000 per year. And I think that anything that MAPT, the Minnesota Association for Pupil Transportation, supports all efforts to curb those violations. We believe that this commitment will certainly help in those efforts, and we look forward to supporting this all the way through the process, and also, again, looking at education and other stop arm policy education and other efforts that would help curb stop arm violations now and in the future. So thank you very much to this committee for this very strong statement about school bus safety, and we really support these efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Lundell. Next, Mr. Cap O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Cap O'Rourke with the Minnesota Association of Small Cities. I am just here to thank the committee and particularly Chairman Newman, Senator Jasinski, and Senator Howe for their effort to get dedicated funding to the Small Streets Assistance Program. This has been a top priority of ours for a number of years. We still have a little ways to go to get that dedicated funding up, but we certainly do appreciate the work of the committee to put additional one-time dollars in. As you know, that Small City Street Assistance does not get dedicated dollars up until this year, and in the current biennium we have $0. So we have some kind of backup work to accomplish to help improve our local roads and our streets and help with that last mile of goods and services and sometimes the first mile for a lot of our local businesses. So we appreciate your efforts and we look forward to supporting this bill.
Thank you, Mr. O'Rourke. Next, Mr. Brendan Jordan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Brendan Jordan. I'm here today representing Drive Electric Minnesota and to discuss our concerns specifically with the $229 electric vehicle tax or surcharge that is included in the Transportation Omnibus Bill. The $229 EV or electric vehicle tax singles out a specific category of Minnesota drivers, those driving electric cars, and treats them differently than other drivers. Most Minnesotans pay different levels of gas tax based on how many miles they drive and the fuel efficiency of their vehicle. In short, you drive a more fuel efficient car or you drive less miles and you pay less. You don't pay a flat annual fee. As presented in this committee in a previous hearing, the $229 is arrived at by assuming close to 15,000 miles driven in a year and around 18 miles per gallon. So suggesting that electric vehicles should pay as if they get 18 miles per gallon means that they should pay more than, just for a couple of examples, a 2021 Chevy Silverado pickup truck getting 27 miles per gallon, or a 2021 Toyota Corolla Hybrid, also a gasoline vehicle, getting 52 miles per gallon. Many vehicles, in fact, gasoline vehicles get better than that mileage, and some drive more and some drive less. But only EVs are being told that they're not paying their fair share and being singled out in this way. Also, despite the importance of highway funding, this proposal, according to a quick back of the envelope, would raise somewhere in the neighborhood of $3 million towards what is currently a multi-billion-dollar highway user tax distribution. So in other words, it's essentially a rounding error, and it really doesn't address the fundamental driver for declining gas tax revenue, which is more fuel-efficient gasoline vehicles. The EV industry supports policy solutions to maintain Minnesota's highways. I really do appreciate a recent meeting with Senator Howe to discuss a variety of different solutions. Drive Electric Minnesota, in fact, supported the adoption of the existing $75 EV tax, which was adopted in lieu of a gas tax. Electric vehicles pay into the highway fund through the motor vehicle sales tax and registration taxes. We welcome and want to be a part of further discussion about an approach to highway funding, but one that is fair and consistent for all types of vehicles without singling out one for special taxes. Just a huge thank you to the chair and to the committee members for allowing me to testify on behalf of Drive Electric Minnesota's members.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Next, Pat Benner.
Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Pat Benner and I'm a legislative representative for AFSCME Council 5. We represent 43,000 workers across the state of Minnesota, including at MnDOT and DPS driver and vehicle services. Thank you for hearing my testimony today. We'd like to express some concerns that we see here in the omnibus transportation budget. First, we're worried that there are no positive increases in operations and maintenance within MnDOT's budget. Holding O&M appropriations flat feels the same as a cut, and there are several places in this budget where there are actual cuts to the O&M base. This is a problem because the work isn't decreasing at all, and neither are the costs. Potholes need filling, roads need clearing of snow and ice in the winter, and we are falling behind on maintenance for roads and bridges, and we need to invest in our department to catch up. To that point, we are concerned with the number of spending shifts in this budget from the trunk highway fund to the general fund. These shifts will pull vitally necessary resources from other areas of the state budget like education, healthcare, and public safety. Just as we are hopefully getting to the tail end of this pandemic, I applaud the chair's push to increase investment in state road construction, but we advocate for doing so by increasing revenue and paying for it. Finally, a quick word on DPS and specifically road testing for Class D and CDL licenses. We hope that as this bill moves forward and negotiations begin in May, Mr. Chair, you may consider including the governor's proposal to increase the staffing and operations budget for driver services within DPS so we can prevent future backlogs in road tests. Our workers at DPS have worked incredibly hard and adapted to difficult conditions through COVID to reduce the backlog of Class D license exams. today, getting an appointment in Greater Minnesota can happen in under 2 weeks. We are working to get all of the testing stations up and running to better serve Minnesotans in Greater Minnesota that have a very long distance to drive. We've also supported several permanent changes to make the process more efficient, like allowing students to take knowledge tests online and implementing a no-show fee to encourage folks to keep their appointments. All we need is the staffing to meet the burgeoning needs of Minnesota's drivers. Thank you for hearing our concerns today, and feel free to reach out with any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Benner. Next, Ms. Suzanne Sabatka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, for the opportunity to testify on Senate File 1159. My name is Suzanne Sabatka, and I'm testifying on behalf of Move Minnesota, where I am the Policy and Research Director. Move Minnesota is the leading transit and active transportation advocacy organization in Minnesota and is a leader in Transportation Forward, a coalition of transportation-interested organizations who would like to see greater investment in our transportation infrastructure. I submitted a letter to the committee yesterday with comments from myself and Move Minnesota's executive director, so I will be brief here. As Finance Omnibus Bill discussions begin today and continue over the coming weeks, we hope this committee will view this budget cycle as an opportunity to seize upon. As workplaces and recreational venues reopen, Minnesotans are reconsidering how they will go on with their daily lives in a post-COVID world, which naturally extends to how they get around. As cars have remained parked, we believe Minnesotans will increasingly ask themselves, why am I depending on a vehicle to get around? This is why Move Minnesota has advocated for a 1-cent increase in the metro area transit sales tax. We know that the time to innovate and expand the transit system is now, while more Minnesotans are already contemplating changes to their daily lives that will put money back into their pockets they were previously spending depending on a single occupancy vehicle to get around. Recognizing there is no sales tax in Senate File 1159, we would respectfully urge you to reconsider the dramatic decrease to base funding for transit operations and metro mobility. We know Metro Transit has a sizable projected deficit that's only anticipated to grow in the out years, and the federal funds they have received can not only alleviate those pressures, but could also be used to innovate and expand the system to accommodate a growing number of riders. We also hope that you recognize that as we reopen, commuters should have a full menu of options for how they get around, including the North Star commuter line and potential new transit lines within MnPass corridors. Our concerns on these provisions are detailed in our letter. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you today, and I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Sabatka. Next, Mr. Scott McMahon.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Scott McMahon. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on behalf of this bill. I'm here, I'm a lobbyist with the firm Flaherty & Hood here on behalf of our client, the Minnesota School Bus Operators Association. The school bus operators are the private contractors who contract with their school districts to transport our kids safely and efficiently across the state. We represent about 60% of the school bus routes across the state. There are 3 parts of this bill that I just want to comment about our support for. The first one is the language, including the amendment, encouraging DPS to do what they can to get CDL and school bus endorsements done. As we wander out of the pandemic and think about the start of the school year next year, it's going to be critically important that we do everything that we can to get enough drivers on the road. We've lost a number of them as schools have been shut down. It's going to be a challenge for us to get fully back up online before September. So anything that we can do to make spots available for drivers is greatly appreciated. Secondly, I do want to offer our support for the DPS language about the inspection process. We believe that that will help things work more effectively as the State Patrol is out inspecting buses across the state. And then finally, we wanted to provide our tremendous thank you for the investment in this bill for the stop arm cameras. This is an issue that we've been working with this committee for a number of years now. And as we know, with things like seatbelts and hands-free driving, that once things become enforceable, human behavior changes and we see a dramatic decrease in violations. Right now, we have far too many violators passing school buses on a daily basis, and the reality is it simply isn't an enforceable crime. Once we can outfit all school buses in the state with stop arm cameras, we can start to enforce it, and we will see a change in behavior as people become more aware of the need to stop when that stop arm is out there. So with this investment, we will be able to outfit every school bus in the state of Minnesota with stop arm cameras. And we just want to provide our thank you for your leadership on getting this done this session.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. We're going to go back now. We missed one who was not available at the time. Jesse McCann, if you could testify now, please. There, I was told he was there or she was there. No. All right. We'll go to Mark Wegner. Mr. Mark Wegner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Senate Transportation Committee. My name is Mark Wegner. I'm president of the Twin Cities and Western Railroad Company, the Minnesota Prairie Line Railroad, and also president of our trade organization, the Minnesota Regional Railroads Association. On behalf of the association and its short line railroad members, in particular, I want to express our appreciation for your inclusion of very significant and meaningful funding for the Minnesota Rail Service Improvement, or MERCI account in your 2022-2023 transportation budget measure. The MERCI program was enacted 4 decades ago to ensure that Minnesota producers and consumers, primarily in rural areas, would have ongoing access to freight rail service. Since its origination, the goal of the program has been to support the preservation of short line rail operations through loans and grants that can be used for improvements to track, road bed, bridges, and other necessary rail infrastructure, as well as industrial rail access installations for rural shippers. The most recent state rail plan identified more than $280 million in improvements that short line railroads need to make to keep their operations in line with industry standards. These improvements mean better, faster, and less costly transportation service for rural shippers. And they mean business development and new jobs for greater Minnesota communities. Having a reliable rail service encourages business investment, evidence which has happened along our 2 rail lines. Echo, Minnesota, $6 million. Buffalo Lake, Minnesota, $10 million. Appleton, Minnesota, $20 million. In Montevideo, Minnesota, $20 million. All this private money because the rail is in good shape. Historically, the MERCI program has come from state bonding appropriations. However, MERCI has only received limited bonding support over the past decade, although last year was an exception. We really appreciate that. A general fund appropriation of $15 million for each year of the next biennium contained in the Senate Transportation Budget Bill will go a long ways towards addressing the freight rail needs of rural shippers. Mr. Chair and members, the 14 short line railroads operating in Minnesota appreciate your initiative and support demonstrated in the Senate bill for improving freight rail service across our state. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you have any questions, let me know. And remember, freight rail is the most greenhouse gas friendly land transportation for hauling freight.
Thank you, Mr. Wegner. And we will go back now. At this time, Mr. Jesse McCann is online. Mr. McCann, can you introduce yourself and proceed with your testimony? Whoop, can you unmute? I think we had to mute you when you came on. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jesse McCann. I'm with St. Paul Public Schools, and I am a behind the wheel instructor as well as classroom instructor for driver education. Today, I wanted to jump on and provide a perspective from an educator in the public school system. Driver education has been one of the most engaging classes that I've taught. I think everything from having guest speakers to come into class to talk about experiences with State Patrol, having different programs come in and talk about how choices impact your life, not only today, but for the future. And for young drivers, that whole interaction piece is super key. So when I learned of the online education or driver education push, I was a little bit bummed out. We've done a really good job with pivoting to the Google Meet classroom approach when the variants came about back in April. I do feel that if we were to go online and make that the language change to no longer have the piece in there about the dimensions of the room, I think there's probably an update that can happen there. But as far as not having the interaction with classmates, interaction with teachers, throughout that 30-hour period, I just have a hard time supporting the online education piece. So maybe some kind of a hybrid model where it would be, 15 hours of live and 15 hours of asynchronous would be something more appropriate. But to go from, having 30 hours with the interaction with cameras on, really looking at the fidelity of the program to now saying that kids can do it at their own leisure, I think is, it's a little bit scary from a driver ed instructor standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. McCann. And I want to thank all the testifiers today. We are on schedule. Everyone was very good on sticking to the time limit. We're not going to debate the bill today, but if there are any brief questions, we will take them after Senator Newman has any closing comments after the testifiers. Senator Newman, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I have nothing further. I had anticipated that any member questions that we have, we'll pick up on Thursday along with any proposed amendments. But the answer is no, I have nothing further. And Mr. Chairman, I think that we can proceed. You can adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Senator Newman. With that being no other business on the agenda today, we are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone.